All right, what's up, guys? Steve Murph here. So I have my setup going on. I just got a new microphone. You can't see it. I'll show you really quick. It's probably going to jack with the audio. I was shooting audio on my first live video from my laptop, which was awful if you watch that. And then the camera, I think, did pretty good, but I had it on a slower setting. So this setting is supposed to be a little bit better, a little more clear. Really want to bring you guys some really good live quality video and audio. So first off and foremost, this video is about some really great techniques that I know that will help you up your steak game for Memorial Day. And for you pros, this is probably basics, but for anyone who's wanting to try something new or try a new steak, I think this will really help you out. And it's also good. I find these, like, they help me kind of brush up and remind myself of good things to do when you're cooking some really tasty steak and how to make it next level. Always good to get a reminder, right? Before we begin, the classic, please like and subscribe if you want to learn more about tasty food, mostly steak and beef, and also comment, all that good stuff. This channel is about savoring the best and getting better and better every day. If you've seen me from where I started. So during the live stream, I'll be checking the comments every now and then, seeing who's all on. Looks like it's just me so far. But this is a video that I wanted to post onto YouTube, and I'm really trying to get into the live streaming and figuring out how to do that with my steak channel or my food channel. And these kind of how-tos videos, these might be the way to do it. I've done a cooking video that was a fiasco, but we got it done. It was like 33 minutes. Don't think you guys are gonna watch that. So before we begin, just one thing. I did say in a comment or a video that I'm starting my master's degree, and that really, spring semester just finished, and that really messed up my plan for YouTube. That really messed up my plan for the videos, and I'm sorry. I had a comment about doing cheese stuffed burgers, and then I think a breakfast video, and that really fell off because I was just so crazy busy. I've even heard that this semester was busier than most, so I probably won't be so held back. And I'm going to try to get you guys that cheesy stuffed burger. I did a few practice runs, and it's so good. I don't know if you've seen those videos where you open up the burger and the cheese is everywhere coming out of the inside of the patty. It's next level type stuff. And then the breakfast videos. I've done a lot of breakfast things like omelets, scrambled eggs. Love breakfast. You might have seen my hoopty like eggs Benedict hack that doesn't use real hollandaise sauce. But anyways, just want to let you guys know that I'm going to start doing some more live videos like this. Now I have all my equipment. If everything sounds good and you guys like it, hey, we got a viewer on. Just to let you know, if you want to comment anything while we're getting into talking about making tasty steak, throw a comment down there. I'll be checking every now and then. Hopefully you're hearing me and the quality's good. And I'll try to answer your comments as we go through this. So we just lost our viewer. Maybe I shouldn't say, hey, we got another viewer. So first and foremost, when you're getting into steak, and I need my phone for this because I want to show you guys some pictures. When you're getting into steak, every steak isn't the same steak. That would be a mistake, right? To think that. And there's really 4 common steaks that you'll see in a restaurant. And you get a different flavor, you get a different texture, you get a different experience based on the ones that you pick. So I'm just going to Google really quick and get some pictures of steaks to show you guys these. I don't have anything I'm going to be like throwing up on the screen or anything. The troubles of live, right? So you'll have like a sirloin. That's your first one. And a sirloin, it's very lean. It's a nice size, and it's not too tough. It's a good starter steak. Because you're going to get a really beefy flavor. There's not too much fat to like work around or trim off. Pictures, sirloin steak. Here we go. Let's show you that. I think this one right there, that first ad. See if the camera, focuses on it like that. It's pretty straightforward. Definitely the first one I had. Not a bad choice to go with if you do a sirloin steak. With sirloin steak, you'll want to cook them. I mean, I guess it just depends. I get all kinds of comments on how to cook steak. Someone just told me, well done is the way to go, and great. So no comment, literally. I don't know what to say. So with a sirloin steak, what I really like is a medium. I I think a medium's a great on a sirloin steak. Medium rare, since it's a little bit tougher, it's not as tender as like a filet. A medium does really well on a sirloin because it's good enough to cut through and it's still going to be tender and have some juiciness to it. Seasoning wise, you can go salt, pepper, the basics. Sirloins are also fun to do on salads or throw some sauces on. Coming in next, I would go with the ribeye, and this is the naughty steak. If you guys haven't seen a ribeye, there's all kinds of different ribeyes. Let's get you a good picture. See there you go. So you have your ribeye right over here, and then it's sliced up. It's usually, let's say it's like kind of like an oval with a lot of fat, and that's why it's the naughty steak, because there's so much fat. And steak connoisseurs will say marbling. It's marbling in there. And what that fat does is it really helps make this steak so much more tender and juicy, right? Because when it cooks, the fat kind of comes out and starts to go over the meats and everything, and really makes for a very nice, tender steak. One thing about ribeyes, if they're thicker, like about an inch and a half, it'll be very tender, very juicy. I've noticed the thicker my ribeyes are, they become a little less tender. And that's probably because if you think about it, the meat part is getting bigger, and so it'll be a little bit tougher. When it's thin, the meat in the fat is really well balanced out, so you're getting a little bit of both in every bite. With a ribeye, maybe go medium. You can go medium rare. When you start going up to medium well to well done, what happens there, and we'll talk temperature, the fibers start to get a little bit tougher. And the kind of like the rule of thumb that I have is if it's a more fatty or tender steak, the higher up you go, it'll be a little more tender. Like if you get a sirloin, cook it well done, it's not going to be the same as a filet well done. Like the filet will give you a little bit more play. So with the ribeye, that one, don't give me a dislike. I would say medium, because you want to cook a little bit of that fat. I've always kind of gone mediums on my ribeyes because I want to get that fat just juicing out, covering the steak. Seasoning wise, salt, pepper. Ribeyes are kind of fun. You can throw in some flavor. I've always loved throwing in flavor with my ribeyes, just because the whole experience and how that works. Now, the second from last that we're going to talk about out of the four main ones is going to be a New York strip. Ooh, a New York strip. There you go. There's some pictures of New York strip. And you're going to say that looks just like the sirloin. And you wouldn't be very far off if you said that, because they do have a similar look to sirloin. They'll have the strip of fat down one side. New York strip is the bomb.com in my mind, because it's a little bit more marbled than a sirloin. But what you get with the New York strip is it's more tender, it's more juicy. You get a really great beef textured steak. You're not going to be like, this fat, really trying to cut through it. It's mostly the beef. So that is probably one of my favorites, just because of the experience. It's great for slicing up and putting on salads. It's great for just having a steak and just wanting to cut into it and not deal with any of that crap with the fat on the side. All around fantastic. And the last one that I want to talk about today is the filet. There you go. And you guys have all probably seen the filet. That's the more popular one. Super tender cut of steak, super expensive cut of steak. You're like $18, $20 a pound on the filet. And that one is like, if you want to wow somebody and you want to make somebody feel a little expensive, or, like you're having a good time, filet is a good one to go with. That's always like kind of like the jaw dropper, the luxury steak. It's great. It's great as a standalone. What I've seen happen to a lot of fillets is there's a lot of toppings, Oscar topping, that kind of thing. The complication with the filet, like when you're talking New York strip, you're talking sirloin, you're talking ribeye, your thicknesses are about the same, and so your cooking temperatures are all about the same. New York strip, you can do medium rare. Sometimes I do a medium rare on New York strip. I like that. I'm sure the person that loves gray just cringed hearing me say that. But with filet is also another one, because of the texture is so soft and there's very little fat in it. That one you can go medium rare too, and it'll like melt in your mouth, and it's juicy. It's not going to fight you back. You're not going to bite into it and be like, oh my gosh, I can't bite this in half. I really got to chew on it. It's just going to fall apart when you're chewing. And a really great one to go with. The one thing with filet, and I have a video on filet too, is that normally filet, you're rarely going to find like a 1-inch fillet. Every now and then they'll have something called like tenderloin. That's 1 inch, but normally your fillets are like 2-3 inches thick. And feel free to shoot in some comments, guys, and I will answer your comments. I'm checking every now and then. So with your fillet, most steaks you can do it on the grill. You can do a sear in the oven for just a few minutes. The fillet is when I start advising use some tools. 1-inch steaks aren't too hard. If they come out of the fridge, you can throw them into the, say, 400 degrees, 350, 450 if you want, and 4.5 minutes on each side, and you're going to get a pretty good medium. When you get into 2-inch, 3-inch thick steaks, it's a whole different thing because the thickness of the steak takes so much more to cook, almost like a roast. Like I think of it like a mini roast. If it's coming right out of the fridge, that steak's 50 degrees, and it's going to take a while to get it to the right temperature that you want. And it's very hard, maybe based off of experience, how often you've cooked the filet, or just based off of the thickness of the steak, the size of the steak, all of those things. Like you'll watch a video and someone will be like, yeah, you do it just like me. You do it 4 minutes, whatever, boom, perfect filet. No, I would say no on that. Bad. No, don't do that. What you want to do, and this is something that kind of made me cheat a little bit, and you can use just a regular standard thermometer, but you want a thermometer. You need either electric one. Love this because it measures it and it sets off an alarm for me. And this, like, it basically you plug the cord in and then stick that in the meat and then throw it in the oven or on the grill. It works either way. And it'll let you know when you got to your temperature. I've tried to guess how long to cook really thick pieces of meat, and I've made a lot of mistakes. A mistake. Don't make a mistake this Memorial Day, right? You want a great steak this Memorial Day. And that has really saved my butt. And, some people might be like, oh, you don't know? You can't touch and feel? I can, and I can try, but that just makes it a million times easier. I'm a busy guy, right? I got a family. I got to work. I'm taking, getting a master's degree. And that made my life a lot simpler. I just had this great party, a steak party, and we did these cowboy ribeyes. We did porterhouses, and I used my freaking little thermometer on those cowboy ribeyes because they're so freaking thick, like 3 inches, and everything came out perfect. And so if you're just getting started, if you don't cook a filet every day, use that thermometer. I'm sorry, that's a really long rant about cooking a thick piece of steak, but that is the tips that I'll give you. All right, we're getting into 12 minutes. I don't want this video to be way too long. We talked about types of steak, so I want to hit on some techniques really quick and then wrap it up, and I'll get you guys next time in the next live video. So just some really quick tips and techniques that I have found that work really great on steak. If your steak is 1 inch thick, and this is all about, I'll go through the motions here. We're going to go from taking it out of the fridge to pulling it off the grill with tips. I'm going to try to just make it like 3 minutes here, like really zip through them. So when you're taking it out of the fridge, you can let your steak rest if it's like 1 inch thick, but it's going to cook hyper fast, right? A lot of mine I sear and throw in the oven, or you throw on the grill. It's going to cook way faster than what I say in my videos, 4.5 minutes, whatever, at 400 degrees. That's just because that sucker is warmed up to room temperature pretty quickly. It'll be like 70, 80 degrees, probably 70 degrees, whatever temperature your house is. It might come up to your house temperature, so it's going to cook a lot faster. A cold 1 inch thick steak, usually out of the fridge, takes about 4 minutes on each side at 400 degrees on the grill. That's what I found, and so that's kind of safe to go with in those kind of videos. Another thing, if you have a really thick steak, don't make a mistake and throw it in cold. Your really thick steaks, I like to set a 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch steak out on the countertop for maybe 30 minutes to an hour before I'm going and searing it and putting it in the oven or putting it on the grill. That's because those suckers are thick and they're going to take forever if they go in at your temperature degree is like 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So you want those to kind of come up to temperature a little bit, make it a lot easier on you. And I recommend using a thermometer. Unless you do it all the time, you're a pro, you're not worried about it. Track the temperature of those thicker ones because those are a lot harder to predict. Okay, so that's your temperature and heating. So to sear, do I bake it in the oven? Do I put it on the grill? Grill's really nice. You have some wood, some charcoal, you get some flavor out of that. You just have to remember to flip it halfway through, so even cooking. Oven's another great technique if you don't have a grill, and I recommend that pan sear and some butter. Maybe throw some rosemary, garlic in there, and then put that on a grill pan with the grooves, and then pop that into your oven. Finish it off for a few minutes. You can even, like if you have a wire rack, you can set that in there, and then also put that in the oven. And what that does, if you have a flat pan, you put it in the oven, you're going to still cook one side of that steak more than the other, right? That's a mistake. If it's on a grill pan or if it's on a rack, both sides cook the same. And that's what you want to go for if you're doing it in the oven. That would be my tip for oven cooking. Now, seasoning and prep, salt and pepper is good enough. Some garlic butter on top. It's going to taste good on any kind of steak. I use Saltgrass 7 spice. This is my cheat. I just don't need any salt or pepper. Just throw this on there and garlic butter, and you're good to go. Or garlic rosemary butter. So I've done some weird things and seasoned my steak and let it sit in the fridge for a day or two. And then took that, put it on a pan, and voila, right? What's that voila? What happened? What happened was, so when you put the seasoning on the steak, the salt, the pepper, it starts extracting the juices out of the steak, right? And then it's really weird. It takes them out because of salt, and then it shoves them back in. It brings them out and puts them back in, and then it dries, creating this. It doesn't necessarily dry 100%, but it dries a bit. What does that dry steak do? First off, you just took the tasty saltiness and infused the steak with that. Your seasoning is now infused into the steak, so you get a little more flavor. Second, because it's dry, when you put it on that hot pan or you put it on that grill, your sear is going to be fantastic. It's a little bit of a commitment. A day, 2 days. I would say no less than a day to get to where you need your steak to be at. But that works so well. I had some guy, I'm going to do a comment video soon. I had some guy say, my buddy's butcher, and he was from Australia. My buddy's butcher, and what you're doing is just stupid. It does bleeping nothing, right? I was like, whoa, bro, calm down. And then I read an article. No, it does a lot. And it makes your steaks amazing. Last thing. Maybe you guys know about resting, the whole idea behind resting. So, you've got your steak out, you got temp, you threw it on the grill. Oh, temperatures. Temperature 350 to 400 degrees Fahrenheit is pretty good for cooking. If you want a nice sear or a little bit of burntness to it, some people like that. I like that a little bit. Bump that up 450, 500. Give it some pressure just for maybe a minute or so in the oven. On the grill, seconds. Get that flame up, let it cook that steak a little bit, caramelize it, and you're good to go. Okay, so we've done all this stuff. Now the steak has come out, right? So you set your steak in an aluminum tent for, I'll do anywhere from 5 to 8 minutes. I think 8 minutes, 10 minutes is really safe, and you want a nice tent to keep the moisture going, keep it a little bit hot. It actually tenderizes a little bit. But what happens is whenever a steak comes off the fire, right? This is a mistake, cutting right into it. Because whenever it comes off the fire, I believe the tendons are really stretched out, right? And so if you cut it, all the juices gush out, out of every part of the steak. All the juices come out and it becomes less tender. If you let it rest, those tendons come back together and the juice evenly distributes throughout the steak, and you cut it and just a little bit of juice comes out. And there's juice in every little bite. So let your steaks rest. If you're in a rush, 5 minutes, 8 minutes is usually pretty good. That's what I go with. Last, cut against the grain, especially if you're slicing up a big steak. So the grain is the muscle fiber. And if you think about, this is my sharpener, like a stick or something like that, that's a muscle fiber. So if I'm biting into it like this, or I guess like that, it's going to pull, right? It's not just going to break apart. It's going to pull. But if I chop it into little pieces and I bite into that, it's like a lot less to chew up. And so your steak is actually more tender when you cut against the grain. Looks like no comments yet, but 6 viewers. Thank you, guys. We're wrapping up our steak video. So if you have any questions about Memorial Day cooking or steak questions, go ahead and give me a comment. Otherwise, we're going to finish this up. Right, cutting against the grain. So those are some really fast tips on cooking techniques and how to really get a nice, great bite. And then what I like to do once it's done resting, brush it with a little bit of butter. Just whatever butter, man. You can do blue cheese butter. You can rosemary and garlic butter. I do that a lot. You can just do regular garlic butter. You can just do butter. And you can add so many things to butter to make it so much tastier. Or if you have a sauce or something like that, really go next level. I haven't really done a whole lot with sauces. We'll save that for another day. Last thing, and then I'm done. One, for prep, love an apron. This is my apron. You guys have seen it in a few. This just keeps all the steak splatters off of you when you're cutting, when you're prepping, all that stuff. We already talked about thermometer on definitely the thicker steaks because it's a lot harder to tell, and you might end up with a mistake, which would be a gray steak. just kidding, guys. If you like it, you like it. I'm not going to make it. And then knife, right? I've had a lot of hate comments on my knife. And what I realized is I needed to sharpen it every freaking time I used it. And so I started sharpening it a lot, like about 40 to 50 strokes. Got a really nice sharp knife. And that just, that just makes it so much easier when if you're slicing up steaks for somebody, or like with those cowboy ribeyes, I was cutting against the bone. And so I just went, boom, right? And that ribeye just came right off the bone. It was so cool. So you want a sharp knife. Hopefully you guys will hate on that knife a little bit less. And then your flavor profile. So like I said, I like seven spice. That does really good. I can go kind of heavy on this and it won't ruin the steak. Salt and pepper is good. If you want to like do a rub, there's lots of rubs at the store. Some people are putting coffee on their stuff. I'd love it if you commented something about the coffee. I've never tried a coffee steak. Maybe someday. I don't think that's going to be a mistake. But yeah, those are just some really quick tips. Anything else I can give you guys before we wrap up today? So we covered types of steak. A tip, the T-bone is New York strip and filet. Great idea. Porterhouse is New York strip and a massive filet. Better idea. All right. I think there was something I wanted to tell you before we go today. Let me think. I'd say that's about it. So, next week, as you're going out, as you're grilling, just keep a few of these things in mind. If you have any questions, definitely hit up the videos, leave some comments, all that. We didn't have any comments today, but I see we had some viewers, and I really appreciate that. Maybe you guys are listening to me. Maybe you're not. So I will give you about a minute if you want to say anything, or we'll just close out. So while you guys are thinking about questions, let me show you something I'm very excited about, which I probably should make a video about, but I might not. The next video I want to do, honestly, is those cheese stuffed burgers for you guys. But I'm on camera. That's happening tonight. So I made a cowboy ribeye, which is huge and thick. This is a tomahawk ribeye. It's a little bit thinner. That's what you see Salt Bae play around with. That's my first one. I'm really excited about it. Going to hit it on the grill, give it some 7 spice, give it some butter. It's going to be great. All right. Well, I don't see any comments. Thank you so much for watching for 7 minutes, or for 7 viewers, or how many ever people hopped on. Really appreciate it. We hit 23 minutes. So that's my video. If you like what you see, give me a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe. And I will try to have a cheesy stuffed burger video for you guys here coming soon. Hey, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay full. And don't make a mistake. Bye, everybody.